back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Jillian and I make videos on minimal and intentional living. And today we are doing a book declutter. I didn't actually think that I had that many books, but then as I was bringing them all to one place and looking at the piles that I had created, I realized that I do still have a lot of books. So I wanted to go through them all today and then get them put back on our... Somebody is walking by. Okay. So I just wanted to go through them all because I want to get them back on our bookshelves. We painted this room. We actually color dredged it. So the shelves, the trim, the doors, the ceiling, it's all this green color. And I really love it. It has created a very cozy vibe in this room. And I have left the books off of the bookshelf. At the beginning, it was because we wanted the paint to cure on the bookshelves. But then it kind of just became maybe a little bit of laziness, a little bit of procrastination. And I knew I wanted to film this video, so I've been putting it off. But today is the day that we are going to stop putting it off and we are going to get the books back on the shelf. However, there are definitely some here that I don't want. And as I was thinking about this video, I got thinking about the reasons why we hold on to books that we never read. And I wanted to share some of those with you before I get into decluttering. And then maybe I can identify some books that fall into each of those categories. The first reason that we hang on to books that we don't read that often is for identity reasons. If we think of ourselves as readers, how can we actually call ourselves that if we don't own a lot of books? The second reason that we hang on to a lot of books that we don't read is for sentimental reasons. We often tie the books that we own to certain times in our lives, certain memories that we have. And I think that there is a genuine fear that if we were to get rid of the object, then we wouldn't remember those things or that time period as well. And the third reason is aspiration. I don't know about you, but I have bought quite a few books, more of the self-help books, in an attempt to become a person that I want to be, but I don't think that I am. And I don't tend to reread these books, but I hold on to them. The fourth reason, and I think that this is more commonplace nowadays, is for the aesthetics of a book and how a selection of books together can make a bookshelf look nice. This is more common if you have a color theme in mind. Sometimes we don't even buy these books to read. We just like how they look and how they will look in our home. The fifth one is perception. And this is somewhat tied to identity. When people come into our homes and they see that we have a lot of books, they think that we're intelligent and maybe more worldly. And sometimes it can be hard to let that go if how other people think of us is important. Finally, I think we hang on to books because of something called sunk cost fallacy. Basically, that just means we've already spent all of this money on these things and it feels wasteful and like we're wasting our money to get rid of them. So I think that keeps us hanging on to a lot of books, clothes, household items. That can apply to a lot of different areas. I definitely know I have a few books that fall into those categories, and I'd love to hear if you also hang on to books because of any of those reasons, so let me know in the comment. I just really want to get my home ready for evenings on the sofa with a blanket and a good book and a cup of tea. That sounds so perfect and also a great way to romanticize my life. But before I do that, I really want to get my bookshelves straightened out. I want to get all the books back on there that I want to keep, and I want to kind of style them a little bit and also put this room back together. So let's get into the book declutter. I think I am probably going to have to take off here in a couple of minutes, and then I'll have to get back to you in a little bit because I realize I have to go get one of my kids from school. This is a new book to me. I bought it before we went to Paris. It was my book that I read in Paris. So I really like it, and it is a book that I am going to refer to again. Like, I'm going to reread this book, but it also has a little bit of sentimentality to it as well because I did read it in Paris. So I'm going to be keeping this one. This is a book that I bought in Paris. I have not read it yet. It's called Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. And the fun thing about this book is it was my souvenir from Shakespeare and Company, which was one of my favorite things that we did. That shop is magical. I will definitely go back to it again. This is actually a book I bought last year on a stopover at the Charles de Gaulle airport, and I bought it because I thought it was like really pretty. So this is a book that I basically bought because of aesthetics, and it's cute, and I'll keep it. But I liked how it looked, so I'm gonna keep this one. This is one of my favorite books. It is Goodbye Things by Fumio Sasaki, and I just love this book so much. And whenever I need a reset in my thinking and in appreciating what I have, I go back to this one. Okay, so for the first book that I'm going to declutter, I thrifted this book probably 4 years ago. It's a little make-it-yourself. It looks like it's 1970s. And I thought that I would use the patterns that are in here, but I've never used them. And honestly, if I'm going to make clothing, I'm just going to buy a modern pattern and make something that way. So I'm going to send this one back into the secondhand market. These are just little photo albums, so they will stay. That would be sentimental. This book is one of my best friend's favorite books, and we were on vacation together. And I bought this book because it was her favorite, and then she bought The Dutch House by Anne Patchett because it's one of my favorite books, which I don't own, which is so funny. I am halfway through this. I had to give it up because I found it to be very heavy, but I do hope to read this at some point in the very near future. This is a book I got a few years ago. It is a photography storytelling workshop, and I really like how it looks. And I think this is a book that I bought for aspirational purposes. So I am going to maybe put this in the reference book pile. I'm going to keep this Mending Matters book. I think it's important to mend clothing, and I'm hoping to do a lot more of that this year. I'm really trying to focus on being content with the things that I own, and instead of buying things, repairing things where I can. Look out for a video on mending clothing and upcycling next week. Okay, I'm going to keep this one kind of also as a reference book. I have this Simple Matters by Erin Boyle, and oh, there's a Christmas card in here from a few years ago. And I like it. I don't know that I love it, but it's really pretty. So I feel like this is an aesthetics book. I'm going to put that in with that one. Okay, so these are some of the kids' books that I want to keep. There's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child and Wonder, Where the Sidewalk Ends. This is one of my husband's books. I won't be decluttering any of his, but I am going to set them aside for him to go through as well. This is a book that I started that I need to get back to. It's called American Bulk, and it's by Emily Mester, and it's Essays on Excess which I always love watching videos or reading stuff on overconsumption, and I need to get back to this one. So I think I'll put this one in the reference pile. I am almost finished with this book. I kind of put it down because I needed to read our book club book, but I have like basically a chapter left, this much. So I should really finish that. I'm going to put this in my pile of to read next. David Sedaris, Me Talk Pretty One Day. This is actually my son's book, and I had taken it from his room because I wanted to read some of these essays, and it was on my bedside table, but I haven't actually gotten around to reading it. So I'm going to put it in my to read soon pile, and then I will give it back to him. I need to take off. I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I'm back, and I had to switch some things around and turn on some lights because it is getting dark outside. I thought of some questions that you could ask yourself if you struggle to declutter books. I didn't talk about it earlier because I just automatically do it. And so I wanted to share those questions with you so that if you wanted to do your own book declutter and you were getting a little bit stuck, you could ask these questions. So the first question you could ask yourself is, have I read this book? And if yes, will I reread it? If not, am I excited to read it? So for example, for me, Blue Sisters, I have not read, but I am really excited to read it. So that is one of the reasons why I would keep this book. Another question is, would I repurchase this book if I lost it? If yes, keep it. If no, discard it. So, for example, this book, which I had put in my, I think maybe pile, my aesthetics pile, if I lost this book, I wouldn't repurchase it. It's a pretty book, but it doesn't really add any value for me. And so this will go in the declutter pile. Another question is for nonfiction books. Is this a book that I reference often, or will I reference it in the future? If no, discard it. So this book that I showed you earlier, Goodbye Things, this is a book that I reference often, and I will reference it again in the future. So this is a definite stay for me. Another question is, have I or would I recommend this book to others? If no, discard it. So a book that I would recommend to other people is this book Wayward by Amelia Hart. I really enjoyed this book. I love that it was a generational book. There were 3 women and it told their stories, but they were 3 different generations in the same family. And I really like books like that. And this is a book that I would both reread, but also I would recommend it. So this is a keep. Another question is, for the books that you're on the fence about, ask if I could borrow it from the local library or a friend if I want to reread it. If not, you can check with the local library. If they don't have it, sometimes they will order it in. And what is a book like that for me? So this Color Me Beautiful book, it's all about like color theory, and I read certain parts of it, but I don't really find it that useful. However, if I wanted to read this book again, I could easily find this in my local library. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. And then the last question is, if I bought this book for aesthetics, do I display it anywhere that I can see it? And if not, discard it. And see, I guess it's going back to this book. I bought it for aesthetics and I don't display it where I can see it. Keeping those questions in mind, I'm going to go through the rest of the books. I think I'm just going to quickly go through these and come back to you with my discard pile and then the books that I am going to keep. Because I think if I go through these one by one, it's going to take a little while. But I may come back in every now and then and just let you know if I'm discarding a book and why. Maybe that's what I'll do. This is one of the books that I would put under my aspirational category, and it's Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I got this book, I think, when it was really popular a couple of years ago. And I do think there's some useful information in it, but also I think that I just bought it because I was just trying to, be the best version of myself. I think I'm a little bit over self-help books at the moment. And I'm just trying to do things that bring me joy throughout the day. I don't think this book is really benefiting me at this point in my life. I'm going to let this one go. I have a couple of Newfoundland books here. So I have a Dictionary of Newfoundland and Labrador, a unique collection of language and lore. And then I have Jokes from the Rock. And I also have a picture book. So I don't look at these things often, but because I grew up in Newfoundland, I like to keep them for sentimentality reasons. So I'm going to be keeping these. So I told you earlier about Goodbye Things being one of my favorite books that I love to reread, and it helps me reset my thinking. And then the other book that I really love, and I've recommended this book, I've loaned it out, I will have my children read this book, but it's called The Millionaire Next Door, and it's by Stanley and Danko. And it is a little bit outdated because I think it was written in 1991, if I recall correctly. And so, some of the numbers and stuff are a little bit outdated. But I think that the general idea behind this book is really, really valuable. And I think especially if you're somebody who buys things to keep up with other people, then it is such a valuable read. I was that person. I bought a lot of things just to impress other people. What is that saying? Buy things I don't need with money I don't have to impress people I don't even like, I think. And I did that and ended up in a lot of debt because of it. And I feel like I've worked really hard to get away from that mentality. And honestly, this book was a big part of that. If I could only have 2 books out of all of these books, these are the 2 books that I would have and that I would reread. And then if I had to pick one more, maybe like a fiction book. I bought it at a local bookstore, and I think it might have been in their used section. And it's Suzanne and Gertrude, and it's a story about a donkey. And I don't know, I just really, really enjoyed it. So I would probably keep this book. It's also really pretty. Look at the illustration. So pretty. I would keep Joan Didion, The White Album. I really enjoyed this, and I look forward to rereading it. And one of my favorite books, I think I mentioned earlier, was Ann Patchett's The Dutch House, which I don't own a copy of. I think I must have gotten it from the library the first time that I read it. And yeah, I just really, really like that book. But I don't feel the need to own it because I know it's easily available at the library. Whenever you declutter anything, it's important to think about the next life of the item. And so for me, books sometimes feel a little bit easier to get rid of because the first thing that I'm going to do is take a picture of them all and send them out to like my neighborhood group to see if anybody wants any of them. And then the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to see if my local library is taking any donations. And if they are, I will give whatever's left over to them. But I had a few other ideas as well, if those weren't something that were options for you. So the first one is give to friends, family, or neighbors. The second one is your local library, but always check if they're collecting donations and also if your books would be a good fit. Check with teachers you know or the local school district to see if they're taking any books. You can leave them in little libraries. We do have a couple of little libraries in our neighborhood. You could offer them to buy nothing groups, to use bookstores, bring them to a thrift shop. You could sell them online or at a yard sale. And then if there's anything that is outdated in terms of reference books or it's in unusable condition, then just recycle those. I also have some old school books that are still sitting in the garage from when I decluttered our storage room, and that was a while ago. And I think I've just been holding on to them, thinking that I would maybe keep one or two as a sentimental item, but they're just sitting in boxes in the garage, and I'm just going to let them go. I just want to share with you the result of the decluttering that I did yesterday. I am pretty happy with the amount of items that we chose to get rid of, and my goal for today is to just get all of the books back on the shelves finally and to just make this room feel nice and cozy. The two piles of books in the back are the ones that my husband wanted to keep. This pile of books here in the front are the ones that my kids wanted me to keep down here in this room. And then this pile of books are the ones that I want to keep. On this side is mostly just reference books, nonfiction books that I want to refer to, and also some sentimental items. In the back on this side, we have books that I have read and want to reread. The one on top is one that I need to finish. I may let that one go once I'm done with it. And then here in the front are books that I have not read yet, but I am excited to read and will be reading them within the next 6 months for sure. And then over here we have the pile of books that we are getting rid of. Some of them are ones that I chose and some are ones that my husband wanted to let go of. So I'm pretty happy with that pile. These are all of the bookends that we've collected over the years. We have found them in antique shops. So I have a set of brass ones, which these are our oldest ones. And then we have, I think these are glass. And they're horses. They look like the chess pieces. And then we have these geode ones. And then I have this cute little marble, I think it is, parrot. He's a little bit damaged. His tail is broken and his beak is broken. But I thought he was really cute, and he is our library mascot now. And then in the back, I have a lot of mummer figurines. Mummering was something that was really popular in Newfoundland, especially when I was growing up. And I don't know that people do it as much anymore. But a while back, they came out with these, I think maybe around 2005. They would release one or two every year, and I would get them as gifts. So I have a collection right here, and then I have 3 more. And these will decorate the top of our bookshelves just because they're really colorful and they mean something to my husband and I. So all of this stuff is what I'm going to decorate the bookshelf with in addition to the books. So this is how it looks after everything is put back on the bookshelves. It's hard to see those guys up there. We don't have anything across the bottom except for our internet router over on the right-hand side. Then I put this blanket here that my mom knit for me years ago. And then I have nothing over here. I put those sentimental books over here on the bottom shelf with a figurine. And then I have all of my books on these two shelves. And then over on this side, I have my husband's magazines on the bottom here. And then those are his books. And then the kids' books. And up top, I have a couple more of my husband's books. And on the matching shelf on the other side is also his hobby books. Much harder to see those. I decided to take the chessboard out of the shelf and put it on the coffee table here so that we would be more inclined to play. All right, that is it for this video. It has been all over the place. The lighting is not good, but I hope that you enjoyed it anyway. I hope that you got some ideas, and if you were planning to do a book declutter, I hope that you're able to let some go with some of the things I've shared in this video. And I will be back next week with a clothing mending and upcycling video, I think. I definitely have some projects that I've collected, and I feel like that would be a good use of my current time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear in the comments what your favorite book is, and I will see you in the next video.